Welcome to the Social Connection podcast. Today on this episode, we have Martin Broadhurst from Broadhurst Digital, which is a digital marketing agency based in Derby. Hi, Martin, and thank you for being a guest on this episode.
Oh, thank you for having me. Yeah, no, it's good to be here.
No problem. So I met, you gave a talk at a conference a couple of months ago, and I was quite interested on automation and AI, hence why I thought you'd be perfect to bring on to give your knowledge and information on how businesses can implement automation and save time, save money, save staff. So that's the reason why we've brought Martin along, and I hope you get some good knowledge from it. Before we start, we have a quick fire questions. So I'm gonna give you 5 questions and be as quick as you can. This is just so our listeners are kind of put an avatar to you, so they know what you're a bit about. So what's your favorite drink?
Oh, craft beer. I'm quite partial to a juicy New England IPA.
Brilliant. Summer or winter?
Oh, summer.
What scares you?
Oh, heights. I'm not petrified of heights, but I'm not super keen on being up somewhere really high.
All right, cool. Twitter or LinkedIn?
Oh, Twitter every day.
iPhone or Samsung?
Oh, I don't like Samsung. I mean, I go Android absolutely over
Android,
iPhone,
okay.
but specifically iPhone versus Samsung. I'd probably go iPhone because I just don't like what Samsung do with Android.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much for that. So what I want to ask you first is, what made you get into digital marketing?
Well, so in 2009, I was working in a steel fabrication company on the production line of basically cutting big bits of steel. That was my day job. And I started a Derby County blog at the time, and it was just on a WordPress site. And Twitter came about around that time, and I got on Twitter in 2009 is when I started. And basically, I became, I was one of the first active Derby County bloggers at that time, and had some success and got some traction with some stories. So I broke the news about Derby County signing someone. I did an interview with Robbie Savage, and I just found that I could immediately, through content, I could connect with an audience. And I was doing all of this while I was working at the construction company in the factory. I had a BlackBerry, and I was actually writing some of the blog pieces on my BlackBerry and then copying and pasting it, emailing it to myself, and then posting it when I got home. Because sometimes I could set the machine off running for 10-15 minutes at a time, and I didn't really need to have all my eyes on it, or both my eyes on it all the time. And so got really into it and just started following some social media gurus at the time, and thought, hey, there's something in this. And then in 2010, I started a company with a BBC journalist called Mark Saxby, and I started Status Social, which is based in Derby. Did that for a couple of years, and then I moved away from just doing social media marketing, and joined another marketing agency. But that was my route into digital, really. It all started from basically content creation through blogging and creating content and connecting with an audience on a subject matter that I was passionate about, which was Derby County.
And what made you then kind of launch your own digital marketing agency?
So, it was Status Social in the first instance that got me into the agency world, and that was just fortuitous timing, really. I met Mark, and he came from a journalism background, understood a story, and since then I've moved around a couple of other agencies and subsequently set up my own, and now consulting with businesses on my own. But the reason for doing agency side rather than client side is I love the variety. I really enjoy the breadth of the challenge. I work with companies that are kind of public sector, universities, theme parks and attractions, and kind of family entertainment centers.
there's a lot of stuff about niching down on businesses. I guess you have an array of different industries.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely understand why people niche down, and
Yeah.
you can kind of get very deep into a sector, understand the challenges very well. You can speak with confidence and authority, and you build connections. So the suppliers and the main events. It absolutely makes sense. For myself, I've just been broader. I don't know why I've enjoyed that challenge so much. Got more of a focus on business to business. That's certainly an area that I'm interested in. Got a lot of experience with CRM, sales automation, marketing automation. But to be honest, I just like an interesting brief. It comes down to that. I'm working with people that I like.
Brilliant. So you've perfectly gone into onto the next bit, what I want to talk about. And this episode, I want you to kind of inform people of what is actual marketing automation then, as a kind of quick paragraph. Well, what is the automation, and does AI fit in that bracket?
Yeah, good question. So we'll tackle the first bit. What is automation? So what is marketing automation? Marketing automation is basically the automating of repetitive tasks. So tasks that we would typically do manually, we can set up and configure within a particular platform to deal with those. And there's loads of examples that we as consumers will come across every day. So if you buy something from an e-commerce platform, you go online, you buy something, you'll get an email with the receipt and the delivery information, and then you'll get a dispatch notification when it's been sent. All of that is automated, and that's built within the e-commerce platform. So that's a really simple example of a very common automation. Now, there's lots of different ways that marketing automation goes from there. If someone goes onto your website, signs up to join your newsletter, you send them a welcome email. That's not, there isn't somebody sat there in most organizations waiting for that form submission to be made and then going, oh, someone submitted the form, I'm going to send this email and say thank you for joining our mailing list. So that's the kind of really simple explanation for what marketing automation is. But the more complex automations are multi-channel. So you can create not just email responses and autoresponders, but automated interactions that take place across websites, chatbots, SMS, email, and these can be fired using all sorts of different triggers. So a trigger is what starts the automation. And if we think about a trigger, well, with the ones that we've just talked about, we've talked about two. So somebody purchasing something from an e-commerce site is a trigger, and somebody submitting a form to join a mailing list is a trigger. But there's loads of ways that we can kind of create triggers. It could be based on somebody having not interacted with your business for, somebody hasn't purchased something from you for 90 days. You could send them a reminder. You might send an automation based on somebody's birthday. So they're in your CRM, they're in your database, their date of birth. So you can send them an email a week before their birthday and say, hey, here's a voucher. Why don't you come to our store and get 10% off?
Now, when I come to a new client and I say to one of the first questions I ask is, what's your data like? And the majority say, yeah, we've got a few thousand. And the second question is, so what do you do with it? And if there's a business not producing the sales that they want to do, it's a case where they're not really putting into the work of their data. Why do businesses in today's world need automation? Because a lot of people are chasing the new customer or new client, whereas they've already got a stock full of people where they're not doing anything. So why do they need it today?
Automation allows you to kind of set and forget to a certain extent. I think one of the reasons that people don't dig into the data is exactly that. It's the lack of priority about going into what's already in front of you. People are always chasing the new. Now, if you've got an account manager, this is the other thing as well. I think there's an element of, who owns the client or who owns the contact when we talk about data. When somebody is pre-customer, so they're still a prospect, they're a lead, quite often marketing will own that interaction. But then when they become a customer, that might get handed over to the account management team. It depends on the industry, of course, but I think sometimes there's a lack of clarity around who owns the contact. So once somebody's a customer, the marketing team, depending on the size and scale of the organization, obviously that's an important caveat, but starts focusing on getting new customers, and it's about kind of reach and awareness, and less time spent on customer communications, which will be left to account managers to build that up again. Again, depends on the industry, but I think automation allows us to say, right, well, we've got these rules, so we want somebody to be contacted by our organization every 3 months. As soon as they become a customer, we want a communication going out to them every 3 months. Now, if you've got something like a newsletter that's going out regularly, the marketing team can pick that up, but that's very generic. That kind of engagement is everybody's getting the same communication. Whereas if we automate elements and interactions based on the behaviors and various other triggers, so somebody's been on your website, they've made a purchase, they haven't made a purchase, they've left a review, they've interacted with you on social media. If we create automations based on these kind of behaviors and kind of demographic signals or what have you, they can be more personal and get more of a response and generate more engagement. And we can set it and forget it. Okay.
Now, it seems like it's so easy to talk about it. There's someone listening right now thinking, yes, I'd love for an automation on email, or when someone submitted a £5 off, we need to trigger the 12-month period from the birthday. We have a catering industry that's what we do for them. What you gave so many decent tips on which apps and software are going to be good, and which ones are free and which ones are cost effective. Could you name 3 to 5 and we can discuss on the standard business and how some of these apps and softwares are needed in the business and how they can help them?
Yeah, certainly. So if I was if I'm a small startup, or a solo entrepreneur, and I'm just dipping my toe into the waters here, and I've got no budget, I want something that's going to enable me to do some very simple but quite potentially doing some quite advanced automations, but enabling us to do the simple ones with ease. I would look at a tool called MailerLite. So MailerLite, that's MailerLite, is it's an email marketing platform, so very similar to the likes of MailChimp, and if people are familiar with that. And it enables you to do your kind of newsletters, but it also has an automation workflow builder, so you can build sequences of interactions. And the reason I like MailerLite is it gives you, within the workflow automation tool, it gives you multi-step sequences. So by that, what I mean is, once the trigger has happened, so somebody fills out a form on your website, you can, rather than just being able to send them one follow-up email saying, welcome to our mailing list, this is what you can expect to hear from us in the future, it enables you to do a drip campaign with, putting in a delay. So you send the follow-up email, you delay it by 2 days, you add another email, you delay it 2 days, you then check whether they opened the first one. If they did, they receive email 3. If they didn't, they receive email 4. And you can do quite complex automation sequences, and that's on the free version of the platform, which isn't often the case. Most marketing automation tools require you to get the paid for upgrade. So that's one of the reasons why I recommend MailerLite if you're just dipping your toe, because you can do really simple automations. You can create forms on your website with autoresponders. You can do your newsletter emails. You can create landing pages. All of that is available for free. Now, if you've got a little bit of budget, let's say you've got, I don't know, let's say you're in the kind of up to 50 quid. You're in the kind of 50 quid a month territory. There's a few different tools. ActiveCampaign is very powerful. Sendinblue is another good one, which integrates with the likes of well, that has quite robust integration with e-commerce platforms, and so that's probably where I would look. There's a tool out there called VBout, which I love. I use that as well. That's actually my kind of daily driver from a marketing automation perspective. That's around, depending on the size of your database, you're looking at around £50 to £100 per month.
Is that a CRM then?
VBout.
Yeah, because I've seen that on your website as well.
Yeah, so VBout is it isn't a CRM, but it integrates with CRM. It has a lot of the features that a CRM would have, but it isn't. They haven't built it as a CRM. You can, if you don't have a CRM, you can use it as that, because it has a pipeline tool, so a sales pipeline tool. But they say themselves, it isn't a CRM. It isn't. It's a robust database. You know, it's got a lot of the things that you'd want from a CRM. You can see lots of interaction history. So what emails they've opened, how many times they've been on your website, what pages they've looked on your website. If you want to add notes to the contact profile, you can add all of that to it. But it isn't sold as a CRM, but it would do the job for a lot of businesses that didn't have a contact database that was very robust. And then at the upper end of the scale, if you've got a bit of money to spend, and actually I would say even if you're a startup, there is a strong case to use the suite. Is my go-to tool actually is HubSpot.
Yeah,
a huge fan of HubSpot. HubSpot Marketing Pro, the kind of professional package, has incredibly powerful automations, and it's very easy to use. And the free tools that they provide actually are really good and provide you with some very, very basic automation that, to be perfectly honest, for a lot of small businesses would be enough.
Yeah, I think their interface is pretty easy enough, and you don't get into the how many levels and pushing down. Because personally, when I got into the industry, 3 years ago, I was the startup trying to do automation. And when you see the grids, I think, oh God, this is going to take ages and I'm going to get it wrong. But I think HubSpot have the next step, and it's easy enough to do. So yeah, I'm 100% on that. Going in terms of into the channel of social media, how do you prep your clients or yourself as a channel of bringing in the leads? What social media tools would you recommend people to use, and how does that integrate into these automation tools?
Yeah, so social media for me, if ever I'm working with a client on social media, I'm almost always recommending a paid strategy rather than solely organic. I think organic works better when it's managed in-house and it has the authentic voice of the company or the individual. You know, you can spot a LinkedIn profile that is automated, or a LinkedIn company page where it's kind of outsourced to an agency. You can typically see that there isn't someone that's in the daily operations of the business getting behind it. So I typically say use paid for the lead generation. LinkedIn advertising is expensive, but in terms of the targeting that you can get, the quality of the leads, you're spending your advertising money speaking to who you want to speak to. If you're B2B, that is, assuming you're a B2B organization, I think LinkedIn advertising is incredibly powerful. Now, couple that with Facebook remarketing. If you're driving a lot of traffic to your website and not getting conversions, I think Facebook advertising is incredibly powerful as well for B2B. So yeah, that tends to be the route that I take, is more on the paid advertising side.
A lot of people say that, they get a negative media coverage for Facebook and paid ads and this iOS update. I'm still flying the flag because I can provide a return on investment for my clients. What's your take on that?
is a lot harder to
Yeah.
track. That's certainly the case. I can still demonstrate ROI. It's much trickier, and I think where we've started to lose control is making sure that we can get the full reporting through the conversion API. That's where I'm trying to get some of my clients to integrate their CRM or e-commerce platform with Facebook's conversion API, so we do get full reporting. Easier said than done is what I would definitely say there.
and it's much harder than when we first started. We were quite confident in kind of saying yeah, but there's so many more other implementations that we've got to use. And when you're talking, I think it's the cost for that, it's more than 25% of what you could see about 24 months ago. There's a lot of business owners, new startups. They've gone in deep, and they're spinning a lot of plates. Speaking as a business owner and then a digital marketing agency owner, what's your take on a lot of business owners doing that motion and not, particularly concentrating on sales? How do you get away from that? Because there's a lot of people stuck in that rut.
In terms of just kind of being busy in the business or busy with marketing and ineffectives?
No, busy in business, because they need to go to the horizon of delegation and what to do. And how do you overcome that?
Oh, yeah. Well, I think you've touched on it there, and it's delegation. That's the important thing. Understanding what's important and what's not. I say this as someone who isn't best at implementing what I'm about to say, but I really like.
You know what? I'm with you on that, because I talk about it, and then I'm quite honest about it as well, and I'm glad you are as well. There's a lot of people in the same situation, because time takes it. The weekend comes, and then you're back to something, and the sales come on, and then we're back into this. So yeah, I'd like to hear your take on it.
Yeah, so I think one thing that always helps to do and to remind yourself when you're a business owner is kind of what's the end goal. And for some business owners, ticking over, just getting a lifestyle business, and I don't say that in a derogatory sense. I think that's laudable if you can have a business that gives you the lifestyle you want and you're happy doing that. That's fantastic. If there's a greater purpose, you've got to work backwards from. I say greater purpose, that's wrong. If there's a bigger objective, like, if you're trying to grow, for instance, and growth is the primary motivator, you've got to work backwards from that and work out what it's going to take to get there and what are the milestones along the way, and then break that down into. So I'm a big believer in a system called the Entrepreneurial Operating System by Gino Wickman. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
No.
But he talks about humans operate on a 90-day cycle, and you can typically focus on any one thing for about 90 days before life kind of gets in the way. So he says, let's say you've got your 10-year vision. Right? Where do we want to be in 10 years? Okay, well, if 10 years looks like that, what does 3 years look like to get you to that 10 years? Where do you need to be in 3 years to get you to that 10 years? And if 3 years looks like that, then what does 1 year look like? What does 1 year look like? And then you can break that down into 4 90-day spells, really. So you can bring that back into your 4 quarters and say, in order to reach my 1 year goal, where do I need to be in 90 days time? And that gives you your priorities for the next quarter. And I think this is really important for business owners, is to in order to get themselves out of the weeds. I don't know about you, but how much time, if I don't have that focus for like that 3-month focus, where do I need to be then? I can spend way too much time scrolling on Twitter or, clicking on LinkedIn posts and all the rest of it. And I need to pull myself out of that and say, no, my focus needs to be on hitting that 3-month objective.
Yeah.
Because once I've got that, then I move on to the next quarter and the next quarter, and then I've hit my 1 year target. And my 1 year is instrumental in hitting the 3, and the 3 is instrumental in hitting the 10.
The best thing about these pillars, you've got a roadmap. And at the end of the first, let's say, segment, if you're kind of thinking, whoa, I'm way into this, or you're on panic mode, that gives you the next week to say, right, my full concentration is on here. And plus, I don't know if you do this, but I block out at least 2 days of the week. So there's no one can book in on my Calendly. No one can really look, no family or kind of clients can get involved, because if I don't do that, it just goes out the window again.
Yeah, no, I don't do that. I certainly should do, though. It's funny you say that, because I've had a meeting booked in this afternoon that it's a minor inconvenience, but we're going to run with it anyway.
Right. Martin, I always ask every guest of mine this question: where do you see yourself in 5 years, personally and in business?
Personally, I don't know. It's a good question, and I think post pandemic, I've got a new. I was going to say new child. He's 14 months old now. He's not a newborn. First child. So I think I'm still waiting for the dust to settle and for me to work out what life as a parent is going to look like over the next few years. But I'm hoping it involves an enjoyable and not too stressful schoolroom every day. I hope it involves me being able to watch my beloved Derby County and not AFC Derby playing at some football ground down the road that I've never heard of. So I guess that's the personal take. The professional take, I would like to be working with, to be honest, it's not too dissimilar to where I am now. I'm not right now really growth hungry. I want to be working with people that I enjoy working with. I want good clients that I've managed to build relationships with, that I can demonstrate return on investment through my engagements. That's pretty much it, really. I'd like to be doing more speaking gigs. I enjoy the conferences. You've obviously seen me. And that's something I do enjoy. I'm very much someone who enjoys the knowledge share. I enjoy teaching. I do a lot of that through the East Midlands Chamber of Commerce and the Leicester Growth Hub and D2N2 Growth Hub in Derby and Nottingham. So yeah, more of that, really.
Brilliant. So just to conclude, if you have not taken a note of the kind of apps and the software, you've got MailerLite, you've got ActiveCampaign, VBout, HubSpot. Maybe you didn't mention MailChimp, but I guess that's the same as, well, the ActiveCampaign can take over that one.
Exactly, yeah. And I think if I was, it depends on your industry, really, for MailChimp versus ActiveCampaign. I think if you're a bit more sales focused, and if you're B2B, ActiveCampaign is probably better because it has a CRM element to it. MailChimp, if you're B2C, I think MailChimp's very easy to use. It's got quite robust integrations. And recently it was acquired by Intuit, who are in QuickBooks. So it integrates with QuickBooks now as well. So if you're in the QuickBooks ecosystem, that might also be useful for you to play with.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for being a guest on this episode of the Social Connection podcast. If you inform our listeners of where to get in contact with you, and if you can share your socials, that'd be great.
Yeah, so you can get me on Twitter. That's MP Broadhurst. You'll be able to find me on there, probably talking about football. That's tends to be what's dominating. Or you can connect with me on LinkedIn. Just look for Martin Broadhurst, FRSA. You'll find me over on LinkedIn. And if you want to subscribe to my digital strategy newsletter that goes out every fortnight on a Friday morning, you can head to www.broadhurst.digital/sign up.
Thank you very much. And thank you for the listeners in joining us on this talk about marketing automation. If you feel that there's been some credible knowledge being shared, please do share it on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Our handle is @Metric Connect, and my personal one is @Atish Palmer on all the social media channels. Thank you for listening to the Social Connection podcast.